Barry, beforehand, you mentioned you mentioned private equity. Can you give us an example of what private equity is? Maybe grab Red Rock or Caesars and give us an example of that type of transaction.
Okay, great. Let's say Caesar. Everyone knows Caesar Entertainment is the largest, I think, gambling casino in the world, and it was formerly known as Harris. And it went. So when you have private equity, what they do is they take a teeny little bit of their money, and they get most of their money from like a public pension plan, like a Nevada or California. Actually, CalPERS was involved in this deal, or the Texas Teachers Retirement System, and they go out and they do a leverage buyout of a company using mostly debt. It's other people's money, so they get the seed capital, if you will, or limited partner capital from the institutional money, i.e., public pension plans, and most of the like a company or 80% of it is really funded with debt. Okay, it's the old leverage buyout corporate rates we saw in the 1980s. But what private equity and Wall Street does, they just repackage everything, make it sound really nice, but it's all leverage buyouts. Nothing's really changed. So when this happened so when they bought Caesars Entertainment, it was one of the largest leverage buyouts of all time, like for $28 billion. I mean, this is a big one, guys.
Dang.
28 with a B. And so, but I think there was two private equity firms, Apollo Global Management and Texas Pacific Group, were two, Ivy League private equity firms, okay, who did a leverage buyout of the company. They were paying, how much they were paying in interest before they went bankrupt in Caesars Entertainment? Any guesses? They were paying $2.1 billion a year just in interest expense.
Dang.
So the whole thing. Anytime you put this amount of debt on, you put this type of debt on a family or a small business or any enterprise, you can put a lot of strain on it. Okay, but the way these guys set them up, they're actually not the private equity funds themselves that owns it. It's actually their fund, so you really can't attack the private equity firm. So you have just a major bankruptcy, and people don't understand how the mechanics work. So I said, people. So I had to understand it, so people can understand it. So, but in any event, so they're sticking this kind of methodology into your 401k, and people don't even understand it, but they are.
And when this whole when everything busted with Caesars, one thing that it affected was the pension plan that they had for their employees. Because I had some of Cameron, I don't know if you know this, but I had a CPA firm a while back, and I had some executives from Caesars, and then I had some retirees, and they had retired and had a promise that they were going to receive this amount of money per month. And then when that whole thing settled, I don't remember how it settled, but there was some talk that her pension was going to be cut in half. And I think they went back and tried to fix it, but it just shows it's even affecting the people that had served there and left with the promise of a pension, and they were also paying the price.
Yeah, well, that's actually a fact. And what is it? Caesars had a deferred comp, which is essentially a side agreement. Any pension plans, they're protected under the Pension Benefit Guarantee Corporation. It was so they'd be protecting the PBGC. But I know for a fact there was because Caesars, they had like 68,000 employees, a big company, huge company. But they had an executive selected, so you may have had some of these people. They had a selective benefit plan, which, believe it or not, irony, is generally financed with life insurance and annuities. But because they're side agreements, they got torched during the season. So people had this separate deferred compensation agreements with Caesars they lost. Now, but the guy who ran Caesars, Gary Loveman. There we go. I remember Gary Loveman. Okay. Before Caesars went into bankruptcy in 2014, he made like $32 million.
That sounds about right.
So he made like $32 million, and I believe Am I correct? I believe, believe it or not, even though the private equity firms, the company ended up going into bankruptcy, and it's incredible detail. I think they still made money. Josh Kosman, who's is a great reporter, people out there. And by the way, he wrote a great book called The Buyout of America. New York Post attorney, just a great guy. Even though everyone got lost money, billions on the collapse of Caesars, they still made money. So, but this was going on, and the same thing with Stations Casino, which was which is in your backyard.
You want to see the entire episode? Click here. If you want to learn how investors use infinite banking to increase their returns and lower their taxes, click here. If you want to see if infinite banking is for you and you have some questions, hop on a discovery call with us and one of our coaches. The link for that will be in the description.